Hey guys. Hey, how are you? So today we're going to be talking about something very important, and you can go ahead and ask questions in the chat if you're on this video live. I wanted to do this live because I didn't want to wait and do all of the prep and everything that I need to do for regular videos. So this is going to be really quick, but it's really important for most of us. We are 6 months in to being in isolation. And by the way, if my dog starts making noise, I have a rescue and he's super jealous. So, I mean, literally, if I'm just speaking to you, he's jealous. So I will be holding him. Sorry about that. Anyway, but he's really cute. So, okay, we're about 6 months into isolation, and everyone thinks that they're doing better than they are. We're all in trauma, okay? Every single one of us is in trauma. Even if you haven't had COVID or a family member has had COVID, even if you haven't had some huge argument or whatever, we are all in some level of vicarious trauma. So vicarious trauma, by the way, you're going to hear him snoring also. So vicarious trauma is where we are watching the news, where we're looking at what's happening on Facebook or Twitter, where we're seeing all of everything unfold in front of us. That's vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is trauma. It doesn't mean that it's not affecting us just because we're observing it, okay? It's not a movie in front of us, it's real life. So I want you to understand that you are in trauma. And I know I seem like I'm a little dwelling on this, but I have to, because most people think that they're not in trauma. Most people think that they're just doing pretty well, or they're just a little unhappy or a little inconvenienced. That's not the truth at all. You're definitely in trauma. Now I have notes here because I did not want to forget anything, and I don't want to go rambling off on any other tangent. I'm prone to doing that. So I want you to first know that you have basically proteins, that when you are in isolation, you have proteins that build up, very similar to Alzheimer's. In fact, that's a very specific protein. So we all have different proteins that start to build up when we are in isolation. And what happens with that is that it decreases our immune system, and being in isolation decreases your immune system. And I'm not saying that if you're interacting with people, if you have people in your family, if you're generally trying to be as positive as possible, you're not going to have as much of this. But for some people, you're going to have a lot. You're going to find yourself being more irritable. You're going to be really vulnerable to political arguments, or even if you're not in the political argument, excuse my language, or excuse my flubbering there, even if you're not in the political argument, you're going to be very prone to kind of church marming or school teachering the people that you're upset about. Like, so if you're very upset about people arguing, you're going to start telling people how, and very angrily, how they shouldn't be arguing. Do you know what I mean? It's like the pot calling the kettle black. You can't really do that. That's showing you that you are in an isolation trauma, that you're in a vicarious trauma, that you are having perhaps, protein buildup. Oh my gosh, I had so much coffee today. This is why I'm flubbering over my words. Okay. Anyway, so when you have these proteins building up, it's also doing a lot cognitively. So you're not going to make the best decisions all of the time because of this trauma. Now, when you are very isolated, you're going to have, now listen, even if you haven't been 100% isolating, the world around you is. The world around you is distancing. Everyone, for the most part, unless you're in a cult, you're pretty much living to different rules and regulations of your town, your state, whatever, and depending on what country you're in. Now, I need you to understand that loneliness ranks super high in disease and inflammation. So inflammation comes first and then disease. It ranks as high as smoking, as alcoholism, and obesity. Now, let's just add to the mix. What if you're a little overweight and you're smoking, you started smoking again? Or what if you've been, helping the situation and numbing out a little bit with alcohol? Now you're adding all of this inflammation. You may not feel the effects of this right now, but in 6 more months you might, or you might be already. So Your blood pressure could be higher. You could be having higher cholesterol. There could be a lot of different health issues going on. But what about what's happening to you emotionally? Are you really happy right now? What are ways that you can reconnect with people? We're 6 months in. We need to think about this. So I want you to also know that there are certain things you can do that you can lower these proteins. You can also lower your stress levels. We're going to be talking about money in a minute, because what happens is when people traditionally have high stress levels, and also when the proteins are higher and they're not thinking as clearly, they tend to spend more money, or they tend to spend money in a way that is a little bit over the top and what they normally would not buy, or they start buying gifts for people. They're just trying to numb out in a different way. And so what I want you to do is, for a lot of these proteins, which are basically plaque on the brain, how's that for disgusting, right? So we can actually reverse some of these, okay? We can't always reverse all of them. But 6 months in, if you've been trying to stay positive, and if you really want to stay positive now, you can do it. So here are the things that I want you to do. Number one, I know that this is for anxiety, this is for depression, this is for proteins, all of it. Get up and get moving. You have to get moving. Now, the other end of the spectrum, if you're struggling with money, don't do it with an online fitness app. Don't do it with something that you're paying for. There's still a lot that you can do from home. So now let me back up a little bit. If you can budget in $12 or $15 a month and you want to do something online, that's great. But you know what? YouTube has a lot for free. I would say just start doing something that's for free that you can do. Start maybe a walking club with a couple of people that you'll distance as you're walking, or just go by yourself. That's another option. You need to get moving. I want you to start moving, even if you get up in the morning and go back to bed and then get up again for the rest of the day. I need you to start moving early in the morning, between 6 and 8 a.m., preferably between 6 and 7 a.m. If you can go a little earlier than that, that's great. Let me tell you why. In the morning, when you wake up, basically you have a surge of cortisol. And if you're very anxious, the cortisol just keeps going and going and going. Now, if you have too much cortisol in your body, there comes the inflammation, there come the proteins and everything else. Now, there's other reasons for those things as well, but cortisol is a big one. Cortisol is really going to make you feel super stressed out. It's going to play havoc with your hormones. It's literally like cortisol's in a batting cage and just beating up your hormones. Your hormones are going to go all over the place. You're not going to feel great. That includes some of the hormones that regulate your level of craving foods or hunger, all of that, okay? So if you get up early in the morning, think of exercise like Pac-Man. I'm so an 80s person. Think of exercise as Pac-Man, eating the cortisol. As your body gets used to waking up in the morning and doing something like a high intensity workout, or getting on an exercise bike, or going for a brisk walk, whatever, doing that is going to train your body that, oh, wait, we don't need this much cortisol. This person's not that depressed. They're getting up in the morning and working out. We don't need to build all of this cortisol and anxiety and stress hormone to get them up and moving. So even if you get up and moving in the morning and then go back to bed, totally fine with that. Just get up and get moving to train your body to not create as much cortisol. Plus, it's going to eat up some of that adrenaline. Also very good. The second thing that I want you to do, hold on. I want you to do something rhythmic. Dancing, yoga, rock climbing, do whatever you need to do where you're moving your arms and your arms and legs and your hands and feet. You want to incorporate as much of the limbs as possible. That's actually something that is also a modality, a therapy, EMDR. And I have some videos on that. They're not linked below, but I'll try to do that. But bottom line is, you also will be engaging the brain more if you have to focus a little bit on balancing. Just going for a hike is going to make you need to balance a little bit. You're not going to think about balancing as you're hiking, even if it's just on a trail. But when you hit a rock or two and you have to balance a little bit, your brain has to really be on top of things. So anything where you're really focusing on balance and okay, wait, my left arm is out, but my right arm is going to be back. Okay, I'm in warrior. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. your brain is being stimulated as well as your body. So you want to do something a couple of times a week at least, where you're doing something that's more rhythmic, okay? And lastly, as far as this section, is I don't want you to do things mindlessly. You need to be very mindful, okay? So you need to think about your breathing and your body-mind connection. Very, very important, because you need to know what's going on with your body, okay? Now, let's just take one thing away here. Not a lot, some of my videos, I talk about, being as luxurious as you can, indulge in luxuries, little luxuries around your home, even if it's without any monetary attachment, living in luxury. I want to sort of change that for right now. I want you to live in a way that's very content, because luxury will give you the feeling of you're doing something special for yourself, something that maybe you don't deserve, that you're allowing yourself to deserve. In isolation and in a lot of stress, that can create a level of feeling that you're not worthy, but being in content is a level of abundance. So maybe instead of thinking, if this bothers you, don't think of things as luxuries, thinking of, you want a really content life, because content is very wealthy. That's where you're wealthy, when you're truly content with what you have. If you're always looking for adding the luxuries, you might not feel that way if you're not in the right mindset. So I do want to say that. So if you look at any of my other videos and I'm talking about luxuries, understand that most of those were probably before a time that isolation and vulnerability was rampant throughout the world. Now, last thing, money. This is so important. There are like 8 billion people right now, more than that, in poverty right now because of COVID alone. That's not even counting all of the people that were struggling before, okay? So we're adding on to the poverty load, and take away politics and everything else, okay? It's COVID, and we're adding on to the poverty load. And so with that, you're going to 6 months in, you're going to have more struggles when it comes to paying bills. A lot of people right now are in that eviction phase. Your landlords gave you 6 months thinking that, in 6 months this wouldn't be around, and here it is, it's worse. So try to call and make as many deals, as many barters, and whatever you can do to stay in shelter, to stay in nourishment, and to have clean running water. I'm not kidding. So you need to have those 3 things. That might mean taking a whole day. If you have kids around, get the kids out of the house, like do something where you have at least a half a day to make phone calls to any credit card companies, your landlord, your mortgage company, whatever you need to do. If you need some scripts on that, just email me or comment below, actually even easier, and I will put together some scripts that you can use. Because let me tell you, right now, companies, landlords, mortgage companies, credit card companies, all of these different cogs in your stress, they're all feeling the stress too. And a lot of them know that they're not going to have any money from some people, okay? That they are just going to be at a loss. So if you're able to offer something, try to go for that and bring that up. And that's going to be in the script. If you want a script, definitely comment below, because I want you to be not taking advantage of these companies, but you need to be truthful. If you really can't afford your mortgage and you might be out and your family might be out, I need you to get the guts to make a phone call, follow it up with an email, and I want you to be able to make some kind of a deal, okay? You need to be able to make some kind of a deal if you are struggling. Now, some of you guys aren't struggling, but maybe you're just noticing that you're spending a lot of money in different areas because your dopamine level's down and you're just, throwing caution to the wind. For some of you that aren't struggling, great, but you still should be saving a little bit more. If you normally put 50% into your fixed income and now you're thinking that's okay, I think you should be saving more. So whatever you can save more of, if 20% was going to entertainment, maybe 5 or 10% or 8%. You need more is going to be right now, especially fiscally. So for those of you who are struggling though, I want you to make sure that right now for shopping, I know that, the holidays are coming and you want to give really amazing gifts. What I'm going to be doing is showcasing not only gifts that are going to be really economical for you. Like I have a blog, actually, if you go to my website, which is linked below, I have 20 gifts for under $20. A lot of them are money focused, and a lot of them are focused on, keeping your sanity, not just keeping money flowing, but changing your money mindset. So a lot of them, check them out below. There's games for children, there are things for men, for women, pampering types of items, a lot of different gifts in that blog. So check that out. Also, I want you to understand that in this time, if you're around people that are expecting heavy monetary gifts and things like that, I want you to start prepping them now. So as of this recording, we're in October, start prepping people in your life now that you won't be buying as many gifts. And even the gifts that the people that you are buying for, they won't be the same type of gifts. So they might be, a basket with cleaning supplies and food and things like that. Like you can do things like that. You can certainly still buy a sweater or two or whatever, but change the trajectory of where you're going with your money. And also let people know that you're doing this because this is worth more than maybe a fancy watch. Okay. So the things now that are very important, a few months ago, 6 months ago, toilet paper was gold, right? Like if you had a choice between a gold watch and toilet paper, a lot of people would have said, I want the toilet paper. People weren't in line for watches. They were in line for toilet paper. So understand our idea of what is important has changed. It has shifted a little bit. I keep up on a lot of the business in skincare and fashion, and Vogue Business has been showcasing how companies have been really changing even how they are creating. They've had more layoffs. They've changed what the new styles will be. Things have been changing to fit what's happening now. Now, I am now over the 10-minute mark by 7 minutes. I apologize. So I want you to also lastly look at what you're doing as far as, do you really need the Disney Channel? Things like that. Where can you cut back? But when you cut back, don't just spend it on something else, entertainment. Cut back, put it right into savings or into your nest egg, whatever you need to do. And lastly, in addition to moving around, in addition to focusing on your mindfulness and everything else, I want you to start preparing meals. So preparing meals is going to be absolutely wonderful for you because as you prepare meals, you're going to be one step ahead of keeping your budget low. So when you don't prepare your meals, you tend to overbuy and you tend to just make a lot of things haphazardly. Prepare your meals and focus on economical types of ingredients. So you might want to have, quinoa and brown rice and different pastas in your pantry so that you can add different things to it, but have it all planned out. Try to plan out maybe the month if you're comfortable with that, or at least, maybe 2 weeks at a time. Really up that a little bit. And again, I apologize for my little dog snoring if you have been hearing him. And I will talk to you guys really soon. I'm going to end the stream and definitely comment below on if you do want that script to help you get out of some of the bills that you might be in. And if you have any other questions about how to handle isolation right now. And by the way, if you're an introvert, you're still having this issue. Just because you're introverted doesn't mean isolation and all of the stress that's happening isn't affecting you. Okay, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.